My name is Marcus Thompson, a 34-year-old former military logistics coordinator, hardened by 8 years of disciplined saving for my dream home at 1247 Maple Grove Lane. This 1960s ranch, nestled on a lush 3/4-acre lot in Willowbrook subdivision, was my sanctuary after a brutal divorce. I craved freedom from the petty tyranny of HOAs. Having once been fined in a rental community for leaving my trash can out 20 minutes past pickup. Never again. This house, owned for 40 years by the indomitable Mrs. Chun, was the last bastion of independence in a 47-home neighborhood where 46 bowed to the Willowbrook HOA, paying $180 monthly to Diane Fletcher. At 52, this real estate agent ruled with a dictator's charm, her smile a brittle mask hiding a ruthless need for control. I paid $340,000 cash to secure the property, drawn to its exemption from HOA oversight. County records confirmed it. Built in 1962, the house predated the HOA's 1987 formation, granting it grandfathered rights. During my final walkthrough, Diane appeared, her fruit basket a grim offering, like flowers at a funeral. "You'll obviously join our HOA for community harmony," she chirped, her voice laced with condescension, as if defiance was unthinkable. "Actually, I bought this house because it's not in your HOA," I said firmly. Her smile cracked, eyes narrowing to slits. "We'll see how long that lasts," she hissed, her words carrying the weight of a veiled threat. Mere hours later, a letter landed in my mailbox, its crisp letterhead reeking of authority. The HOA demanded I replace my mailbox, dismantle my unauthorized garden shed, and repaint my vibrant blue house in community-compliant beige, a color as lifeless as Diane's vision. The audacity was staggering. My property was beyond their reach. Diane's house sat directly across the street, her blinds twitching like a suburban spy surveillance post. Neighbors, like the kind but timid Mrs. Rodriguez next door, offered nervous waves, their eyes darting toward Diane's domain, fear etched in their faces. The HOA had hiked dues 3 times in 2 years, funneling funds into vague beautification projects that left the neighborhood unchanged but Diane's grip tighter. My house, the lone holdout, was a glaring defiance of her law enforcement empire. The harassment began swiftly. Code enforcement, spurred by anonymous complaints traced to Diane's email, inspected my pristine yard. "No violations here," sighed Inspector Rodriguez, casting a knowing glance at Diane's house. Then came a noise complaint for mowing my lawn at 10 a.m. on a Saturday. 2 officers arrived, bemused. "Noise ordinances start at 11 p.m., one explained as Diane, face flushed like an overripe tomato, ranted about community courtesy. She escalated, distributing flyers for an emergency HOA meeting, proclaiming a neighborhood crisis. I countered strategically, installing 4 security cameras and diving into property law. My house's grandfathered status confirmed Diane's lack of authority. With evidence mounting, I was ready for battle. Game on. Diane Fletcher's campaign against me escalated from petty harassment to a full-blown war, her desperation as palpable as the acrid scent of her over-applied floral perfume. She declared my driveway non-compliant with community standards, demanding its replacement within 30 days with approved materials. Defiant, I invested $8,000 in premium permeable pavers, transforming my driveway into an eco-friendly masterpiece that gleamed like a luxury resort's entrance. The unauthorized garden shed she targeted? County records confirmed it was grandfathered, predating her HOA's 1987 formation. I didn't just defend it. I had it professionally painted and converted into a stunning workshop, its sleek design outshining most homes in Willowbrook. Neighbors gawked, their whispers carrying across fences. Mrs. Rodriguez, my kind but timid neighbor, leaned over our shared fence, her eyes wide. "Diane will be furious," she murmured, glancing nervously toward Diane's house. I grinned, spreading fresh mulch around my native plants. "Let her complain my property looks too good." Emboldened, I filed formal complaints with the city, documenting Diane's false code enforcement reports, and harassment. The bureaucratic weight of my paperwork felt like stacking ammunition. Neighbors, long silenced by fear, began to open up. Tom Bradley, a grizzled former HOA board member who'd quit in disgust, shared chilling stories over a bitter IPA on my porch. Diane had a history of targeting vulnerable residents, military families like mine, elderly widows like Mrs. Chun, and single parents, anyone she thought couldn't fight back. Mrs. Rodriguez, her voice trembling, confessed Diane had threatened foreclosure over her children's bicycles, labeled attractive nuisances. The revelations painted a portrait of a suburban tyrant, but the real bombshell came from late-night dives into public records. Diane's real estate LLC owed $340,000 in back taxes, a financial noose tightening around her empire. Worse, the HOA's reserve fund, which should have held $180,000 from years of $180 monthly dues from 46 homes, had dwindled to a mere $15,000. The math was damning. Diane was embezzling community funds to prop up her failing ventures. Her desperation fueled increasingly unhinged tactics. She organized a community safety patrol, a trio of HOA loyalists circling my house every 2 hours, clipboards in hand, documenting my every move like suburban secret police. The absurdity peaked when animal control received complaints about my aggressive, unleashed pets. I don't own a single pet, not a dog, cat, or even a goldfish. The officer, inspecting my pet-free yard, quipped, "Are we talking invisible animals here?" Diane's next move was a petition, circulated door to door, claiming my non-conforming lifestyle, apparently my refusal to join her HOA, tanked property values. Neighbors whispered their outrage in the neighborhood WhatsApp group, but fear of Diane's wrath kept most silent. Then a breakthrough. My security cameras, installed with military precision, caught Diane's husband, Gary, sneaking through my backyard at 2:30 a.m., flashlight glinting off my water meter. The footage showed fresh scratches and disturbed soil, clear tampering. I filed trespassing charges the next morning. Gary, caught like a deer in my motion-activated spotlights, took a plea deal faster than a speeding ticket, his guilty expression immortalized in high definition. The neighborhood buzzed with shock, but the real kicker came when I unearthed a 1987 HOA document, a master development agreement granting the HOA first refusal on non-member property sales. This wasn't about aesthetics, it was a calculated land grab. Diane's Real Estate LLC had inked a $2.8 million deal with Pinnacle Development to rezone Willowbrook for commercial strip malls and offices. My house, the lone holdout, was the final piece. Without it, her deal and her financial survival would collapse. Diane went nuclear. She filed for adverse possession, audaciously claiming my occupied home was abandoned. My insurance company was bombarded with anonymous complaints alleging hazardous conditions, non-existent dogs, imaginary structural issues. Then, at 2:47 a.m., my security system blared with motion alerts. Cameras caught a ski-mask figure cutting my shed lock with bolt cutters, the metallic snap echoing like a gunshot. Nothing was stolen, but by morning, drug paraphernalia, a pristine baggie, and suspicious items appeared near my back door, perfectly positioned for Diane's discovery during her morning power walk. I didn't touch it, calling the police instead. The officer's face hardened as he reviewed my footage. "This is evidence planting," he said. "Felony territory." The neighborhood WhatsApp group exploded as suppressed stories poured out. Tom revealed Diane had forced 3 families to sell at rock-bottom prices, her LLC flipping their homes for 40 to 60% profits. Mrs. Rodriguez, shaking, confessed to receiving a $5,000 cash bribe to file a false complaint against me. The envelope slipped under her door with a typed note. Diane's empire was unraveling, her desperation as clear as the sweat on her brow during her latest emergency HOA meeting, where only 4 attendees showed up, 2 questioning her sanity. My cameras, legal research, and growing coalition of neighbors, Tom, Mrs. Rodriguez, and others, formed a fortress of evidence. Diane, oblivious to the noose tightening, was making mistakes faster than I could document them. each one a nail in her criminal coffin. With evidence stacked like ammunition in my home office, I assembled a legal dream team to dismantle Diane Fletcher's criminal empire. David Chun, a RICO specialist, took the lead on federal racketeering charges, his calm demeanor masking a prosecutorial ferocity. Sarah Martinez, a sharp real estate attorney, tackled Diane's property law violations, while our forensic accountant, Emily Nguyen, traced the financial rot at the heart of Diane's schemes. Late-night sessions poring over bank records revealed a staggering truth. Diane's Real Estate LLC had siphoned $180,000 in HOA funds, bankrolling luxury car purchases and a vacation home in Aspen, while the Willowbrook HOA's reserve fund withered to $15,000. Public records exposed a darker secret. Diane's LLC owed $340,000 in back taxes, her empire teetering on collapse. Emails with Pinnacle Development Corporation, uncovered through a public records request, laid bare her plan to rezone our neighborhood for strip malls and office complexes, a $2.8 million deal that hinged on acquiring my property, the final holdout. Our investigation didn't stop at Willowbrook. We uncovered a regional network of similar schemes across 3 counties, with Diane's tactics mirroring other HOA predators targeting vulnerable homeowners. Diane's desperation spiraled into madness. She filed a false restraining order claiming I'd stalked her, her affidavit a tapestry of lies about late-night threats that never happened. A 911 call alleged I'd brandished a weapon in her driveway. While I was on a video call with clients in 3 time zones, my alibi ironclad. Child Protective Services received anonymous reports accusing me of endangering my 12-year-old daughter, Zoe, in a dangerous home. The CPS investigator, inspecting my pristine property, apologized for the false report, noting it for potential prosecution. My security cameras, now my greatest allies, caught Gary, Diane's husband, slashing my car tires at 2 a.m., his knife glinting in the moonlight. Days later, they recorded Diane planting stolen merchandise in my trash, her furtive glances betraying her intent to frame me. Each act, harassment, stalking, evidence tampering, added felony charges to her growing rap sheet. The neighborhood WhatsApp group buzzed with outrage as neighbors, emboldened by my defiance, shared stories of Diane's decade-long reign of terror. Forced sales, fabricated violations, and bribes to silence dissent. The November 15th City Council meeting was my battlefield. With local media tipped off by my veteran advocacy network, the fluorescent-lit chamber crackled with anticipation. I approached the podium, 3 bankers' boxes heavy with evidence. As Diane sat smugly in the front row, her blazer as crisp as her delusion. "I'm here to address a criminal enterprise in our community." I began, my voice steady. A projector displayed a timeline of Diane's crimes. Security footage of her planting drugs, financial records tracing embezzled funds to her personal accounts, and emails plotting the Pinnacle deal. Tom Bradley, the former HOA board member, testified about 4 years of financial fraud, his voice thick with regret. Mrs. Rodriguez, tears streaming, recounted Diane's threats to foreclose over her children's bikes, her rose garden deemed a safety hazard. Janet Walsh, via video from Arizona, detailed Diane's targeted harassment of military families, her testimony a gut punch to the room. The gallery gasped as Diane's recorded voice echoed through the speakers. "That little girl won't be safe if her father doesn't cooperate. Zoe, my daughter, was her final target." FBI agent Sarah Chun rose, her badge gleaming. "Mrs. Fletcher faces federal RICO charges for embezzlement, mail fraud, and conspiracy," she declared. Police Chief Williams added, "This is a 6-month joint investigation with state and federal agencies." Diane leaped up, screaming about conspiracies and fabricated evidence, her face ashen. Council President Martinez's gavel couldn't silence the room's fury. As officers cuffed her for outstanding warrants, harassment, stalking, evidence tampering, the gallery erupted in applause, a cathartic release of years of fear. 6 months later, justice landed like a sledgehammer. Diane was sentenced to 5 years, 3 federal for RICO violations, 2 state for embezzlement and harassment, to run consecutively. She was ordered to pay $340,000 in restitution to the HOA. I received $85,000 for property damage and harassment. Pinnacle Development, desperate to avoid charges, settled for $50,000. The Willowbrook HOA dissolved, replaced by the Democratic Willowbrook Community Alliance, with term limits and transparent finances. Property values soared 22%, freed from Diane's shadow. Mrs. Rodriguez's Rose Garden, once threatened, became a local attraction, drawing garden club tours. I founded the Homeowner Defense Scholarship Fund, aiding 300 families nationwide against HOA abuse. My advocacy fueled the state's Homeowner Protection Act, sparking 47 arrests across 12 states for similar schemes. At a community garden day, I met Sarah, an environmental lawyer drawn to my native plant landscaping, the same feature that sparked Diane's ire. Zoe thrives in our liberated neighborhood, proudly sharing her dad's victory over the crazy lady. Our annual Freedom Festival, now drawing 500 attendees, celebrates community over control, with laughter and barbecue smoke replacing the stench of fear. Diane thought she could break me, but documentation and determination shattered her empire. If you faced an HOA nightmare, share your story and subscribe to Zarela HOA Stories for more tales of triumph over suburban tyranny. We're building an army against petty dictators, one case at a time. Word count: 800.